So for those of you who don't know me, James Doherty, and Moira and I came back 6 years ago now to Donegal to essentially reclaim the distilling heritage of Donegal and bring a kind of new approach to Irish spirits, we hope. And that, for us, is making things that are beautiful, that celebrate the wonderful county of Donegal. And Moira has asked me tonight not to use the word Donegal very much, so I've failed already. Things that challenge the existing codes with respect to whether they're whiskies or gin, and also that they tell a story. And so with the Silkies, that's part of that, which we'll come on to in a second. Ultimately, I guess we make drinks that have both a unique sense of place and of time. So it's not enough for us, lots of distilleries, I guess, have a sense of place, and for us that's no different. Ours is the wild Atlantic coast, the Donegal coast that inspires us, and is beautiful in terms of how it brings things together. And but it's also important to us that we bring a sense of time to these things. And in our gin and Doulaman, we bring a sense of time by going back to sort of creating a bottle that looks like it's been there since the 1800s and really hasn't changed at all. And in Irish whiskey, it's bringing back a pre-prohibition taste, if you like, of Irish whiskey. So the taste of Ulster, the province of Ulster, which was ultimately, distilled peated single malts, and we will do peated pot stills too, but trying to bring that to life in a kind of new and innovative way. We launched the Silkie now as it is, in the guise it is today, and the blend that it is today in 2019, and it's growing rapidly around the world. It's now in about 30 countries. We're in 48 states of the US, and I suppose the liquid that it is today, the whiskey that it is today, is really telling the story that we wanted to bring of bringing smoky whiskey back to Irish whiskey. And hopefully in the Silkies that you will taste today, you'll see that not only do we bring back that sort of a new look on the Ulster style, and we do it with blends, not just with single malt, but bringing it to blends, but we also bridge from that pre-prohibition smoky style of whiskey that's kind of got lost in the world of Irish whiskey today, which is very much more city-based, smooth, soft, easy, and bringing to that a kind of modern take with the grain whiskies we use are maize-based, and we use virgin oak, and all of that kind of brings a sort of new world style to it. So hopefully we bridge that kind of new world to traditional Irish, and the traditional Irish that's been lost. So the Silkie legend, I guess, is to start with, is the mermaid legend that was brought to us by the Vikings. So we're very good at appropriating things in Donegal. We don't need to have created it ourselves, but the Vikings came to us and they brought the story of the Little Mermaid. They brought it down the west coast of Scotland, down the west coast of Ireland, and all the way over to Nova Scotia. And the reality for us is that story has been transformed in Irish to in the Gaeltacht into a seal that comes ashore, turns into a beautiful woman, falls in love with her fisherman, until the call of the sea becomes too strong and she must leave him and go back. And the legend, as it's told in Donegal, is that the seals still follow these fishing boats as these mothers, these women, come back to follow to check up on their loved ones. So that's where the Silkie legend comes from. It's really quite one of the ironies of this for us is that in some places, even in Donegal, we have to explain what a Silkie or a Selkie is. But actually, when we talk to people in Nova Scotia who have a similar legend, we don't have to do that. So if we start with the legendary Silkie, so this is the lightest of the smoked whiskies that we make, and the whiskies that we use, they're all supplied by Great Northern. The whiskies are relatively young, so they're 3 to 4 years old. We blend for softness. So one of the things that both Moira and myself absolutely adore is soft, hard spirits. So hard spirits that drink soft. And we both absolutely adore cold drinks. So we spent a lot of time, Moira and I lived in Malawi in Central Africa for 6 years, so we drink things cold. So they're blended also to work particularly well with ice, and they take on a slightly different character with ice, which Unfortunately, I haven't got any ice to play with today, but hopefully you'll get a chance to do that at home. So the Silkie, the legendary Silkie then is a blend of double distilled single malt that's matured in bourbon barrels, triple distilled single malt that's matured in sherry casks, triple distilled peated, heavily peated single malt that's matured in sherry cask, but just a small amount. It's only 4% of it is peated that way. And then we have 70% of the blend is made up of a grain whiskey matured in virgin oak casks. And that virgin oak on top of the grain whiskey, which is a maize base, gives you this buttery, sweet kind of backbone, big round belly of a whiskey that you can then hang these other nice flavors off it. So if we have a quick sniff, it's kind of unmistakably Irish on the nose. You get this wonderful kind of sort of fresh green apple, pear note to it, a little bit sort of biscuity. It has a sort of biscuity note to it, and just the merest kind of dry, ashy kind of aroma to it. So not peated in a kind of very specific way that you would find with a Scottish single malt from Islay, but much more generic and much more sort of a general smoke that's laid over the top of the whiskey. So that's where we are there. So if I just have a quick sip. And what you should get is that, what I get anyway, it's 46% non-chill filtered, natural color, but you get that sort of initial kind of sweetness right at the front of the mouth. You don't get that kind of flinty, steely taste around the sides of the tongue. Sort of sits gently on the tongue, and that's what we kind of look for in that softness that we talk about, the hard spirits that drink soft. It has a sort of almost hobnob sweetness, you know, real kind of that sweetness that you get from a hobnob biscuit, which kind of honeyed, slightly salty perhaps. And then just at the back of your tongue, just as you're going into that finish, you get the warmth of your tongue, opens it up that little bit and brings out the smoke. Just you get that little kind of gentle, kind of warming, not lingering smoke, but a gentle smoke that kind of makes you feel almost a bit like white pepper that sort of sits there and kind of lets you know it's there. And for us, the whole point, I guess, is that, you know, our story and you know, the distillery we're building in Ardara is only producing peated whiskies, so smoky whiskies, and this in the legendary Silkie is a smoky whiskey that's still quite close to where Irish whiskey is today, and therefore gives people a chance to a gentle and perhaps a very gentle introduction to the world of the smoky whiskies that we like. If you, as it opens up a little bit, the smoke comes up a bit more, you get that sort of caramel sweetness, and it has that sort of finish that just sort of melts away, gently melts off the tongue. So it's, for me, it kind of brings in the sort of easy style of Irish whiskey today with that little bit of smoke and a little bit of depth and a roundness that the grain whiskey brings to it. So it's a whiskey we're incredibly proud of. It's the best in category at the World Whiskey Awards this year, the best blended Irish whiskey. It's rounded, balanced, and I suppose one of the things that I'm very fortunate is that, one, when Moira and I blend together, we play together with these blends and put them together. We've got kind of different approaches to how we come to putting a blend together, and that allied to the time that I was fortunate enough to spend at William Grant & Sons with David Stewart, the malt master there, who had such an important element of his blending process was the way he wanted to get balance into whiskies, and I think for us, the Silkie as it is today has now got this really rounded. It doesn't have any unwanted spikes. And for something that's made in very small batches, we make batches of 3,000 bottles at a time. I think we're sort of really pleased with the way that that's come out. So it's given us a sort of really great sort of starting point, which allows us to take people on a journey away from the centre of where Irish whiskey is today to something that's a bit more smoky and a bit more challenging, and something that we think is truer to the taste of Donegal of old. So that's where we are